You know, I got to be honest with you. I enjoy driving Uber and Lyft. Part-time, 6.5 years. Done made some damn good money. Done been through some rough patches. But, I'm out here, and I'm sure a lot of you folks are out here too, and things are getting tough. Things are getting tough. And then I read this. Uber attracts record number of drivers as cost of living bites. Inflation, bro. They're talking about inflation. Now, this was a report I came across from the BBC News. And it says almost 5 million people are now picking up passengers or making food deliveries. The gig economy is thriving. 31% more than last year, which that's skewed because half the world was locked down last year. So I get that. But it says Uber has been struggling with a driver shortage. Same thing with Lyft since the pandemic. Well, yeah, but what's happening now with inflation and prices being so high, the gig economies, they're benefiting from it. And how are they benefiting from it? Because more people are turning to these gig economies as side hustles. And if you're a driver that's trying to make it full time, you got problems right now. Karahashi said, interest in driving for the company was accelerating despite those costs. That means fuel costs going up, car prices going up, insurance costs going up, cost of living going up. And so what's the natural reaction for people to do is to try to earn more money. Yeah, that's right. More people are earning on Uber today than before the pandemic, he said in prepared remarks for investors. Now, I understand. I just did a video with the whole Tesla deal, right? And I've got a whole theory on that. Maybe I'll just leave that as a little 2-minute video clip. I don't want to get into that. But I came across also, if you guys don't know Harry Campbell, he's the last of the Mohicans. He's survived the Uber YouTube wars, so to speak. Now, with Harry, sometimes I get a little, sideways because I truly believe he's living in that blurred area where he's for the drivers, but he's also linked in whatever kind of way. I'm not accusing. I'm just thinking when you hear the interviews and you read some of the articles on his website, and I invite you to go look at it. I'll link it down below. It's a little bit of a blurry line. Some people say he lives in the grays. Some people say he's unbiased. Whatever. I'll let you be the judge of that. Anyway, here's an interview with the CEO, Dara, and I want to play this clip for you.
Things that always come up, as you might know, pay and flexibility. And I think this definitely does a lot to address flexibility. I'm curious, though, how do you think these features will impact actual driver earnings? Should they expect to earn?
So what he's talking about here is he's talking about they're referencing the new upfront fares where you're now going to know kind of where you're going, how many miles, and how much the trip is going to pay you up front. There are some other things with this that you need to be aware of is that you're no longer going to get a receipt that tells you your time and mileage. Everything now is going to be whatever they decide to pay you. And that's important. And you're going to hear that in his interview here where he's talking about that.
Same, less, more, because as you know, this is obviously one of the reasons why we all do it, right?
The design spec around these features is for the driver to get paid the same and essentially have more information and be able to choose their destinations so that, the experience is better for the same amount of income. A particular driver based on then what they do, what trips are they accepting, what trips are they not accepting, their behavior may wind up making, less or the same or more. But
see right there, that's huge, man, because the whole point of working isn't just to make a living. The more time you put into something, and we carry the burden, right? We carry the burden of the vehicle costs, the fuel, the insurances, all of that stuff. And the idea is to make more money. And I'm going to show you something in a few minutes from an old school YouTuber that's kind of led him into something different. If I don't have an opportunity to increase or better my wages or myself, what is the point? Then yes, it is a quick hitter, get in for a month and get out. But for those of us that actually enjoy doing it and have invested more in it, you know what? Maybe that guy wasn't so wrong with Kalanick when Kalanick said, you know what, drivers should be more responsible.
The design is same earnings level, more information, which should drive better satisfaction.
Got it.
They could have been giving us the information where we're going. Like with Lyft, right? Once you hit arrive on Lyft, doesn't matter the platform, you can shrink the map and you see where you're going. So it's not like these companies don't have the ability or haven't had the ability to simply tell us where we're going. I understand why they didn't do it, because they didn't want drivers cherry picking rides. Listen, even with, and that's the next part that's coming up, even with the information, drivers are still going to cherry pick. Like I said, this is going to lead me into a whole bigger conversation.
Well, then let's talk about driver pay for a second, because obviously, as you know, this is an important, if not the most important topic to drivers. So I think the added flexibility, same pay sounds great. But, in a Bloomberg interview you did a couple months ago, you mentioned that drivers were earning $39 an hour during utilized hours, right? Which would be period 2 and 3. So,
Understand what utilized hours are. Utilized hours are when you're on a ride. It's not when you're waiting for a ride. That's period 1. Period 2 is when you're on the ride. You're physically taking the ride. The passenger is in the car, not on your way to the pickup. Once they're in the car and once they drop off, well, hell, if I did that and I combined all my rides just for the time I got somebody in the car, I'd probably be making about $400 an hour. But the problem is you got to wait in between rides. And as we just saw, more people are turning to the gig economy. So that means more competition for us, longer wait times.
We posted a clip on YouTube, very popular, but there was also a lot of skepticism about this figure. So I'm curious, what do you think about the state of driver earnings right now? And, what should they expect going forward?
Yeah, so I understand the skepticism, but you should understand, we're not going to lie about this stuff. Mm-hmm. I think one specific.
I don't even know how to respond to that. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Addition to that is this was in top 20 cities in the U.S. Okay. So if I didn't say that,
bigger cities
to be specific. So that's one. That was where pay was. Pay now is about $30 an hour, including tips in the U.S. across the U.S.
He says $30 an hour adjusted, right? He's already adjusted down from 39 to 30. And he's including tips as if they have any control over that. And from what I'm hearing and from what I've seen, I've seen the proof. All them tips ain't exactly getting where they're supposed to go.
It's come down a little bit as more drivers have.
If you're making $39 an hour and you drop to $30 an hour, that's a 25% decrease. Now, when we go back to what we were just talking about with the upfront fares, right? Now, no longer time and mileage on our receipt. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think? Anyway, I'll link this video down. Listen, you should go take a look at it. But there's someone else. My guy, Randy. And Randy was the original Uberman. And I just happened to stroll across this today, and it got me to thinking about how, he wasn't so wrong. Now, this interview is from 2018. He had already started shifting away on his channel from discussing Uber and Lyft things and moving into his new business. And as you can see down here, if you want to look him up and go see his old videos, it's now Auto Auction Rebuilds. I'll link him up down below. But it used to be Uberman.
There. So basically what I'm seeing here is that the app is getting revamped.
Now, this is in 2018 after Uber had just rolled out a bunch of other changes. And when you listen to the interview here and you listen to what I just played you from a couple of days ago, In the entire 4 to 5 to 6 year period, we haven't gotten a raise. There is no more money coming into drivers, but all our expenses are through the roof. If I'm making $30 an hour in 2018 and I'm still making $30 an hour in 2022, there's a problem. This is why I say Uber, Lyft, and every other gig app out there, it is a side hustle. You cannot do this full time. Take advantage of the times when they're good. Make sure you're putting away and squirreling away money and working on your other income streams while you're doing this. Because when this dries up and everybody gets tired of it, it constantly has a high turnover. There is such a high turnover for drivers, not just in the rideshare game, but across all the gig apps. And once you start getting too smart for the app, too smart for the company, you become a problem for the company. They just kick you to the curb and you're out of gas.
Which, that's pretty cool. I knew that, though. I mean, Aaron Schildkraut told me, when was it I did that 4-part series when I interviewed the head of driver product?
So what he's referring to there is, I think it was 2017. Uber went to the 3 top Uber channels, which was Randy with Uberman. You had Simple Driver, and I believe he went to Harry. And they did a series of interviews, not with the CEO, but with head of certain departments, driver development and such. These guys were paid by Uber to do these interviews. I'm not going to say they were softball questions, because these guys are just YouTubers. They're not newscasters. They're not, Brett Barr or Tucker Carlson or Don Lemon or any of that. Well, I shouldn't have said Don. Anyway, these guys, they did their best, but they were taken advantage of, but they were compensated to be taken advantage of. So in that respects, when that came out, I didn't have mercy for them.
He told me the app was getting revamped this year. They're working on innovating the app, is what he told me. So, I mean, there's no surprise there. As far as rate increases, I could have told you that. I mean, surely you guys didn't think there was going to be a rate increase, right?
And that's the bottom line. 4 years ago, app changes. The CEO just said, well, we don't want to lie about this stuff. Listen, there is nothing more less transparent than all the gig apps. It's a side hustle. People used to drive because they knew they were driving for per minute, per mile. You knew that. Now, there's one more thing that's coming up in this, and I know the video is getting long, but I'm going to get it off my chest. And we're going to talk about rate rebalancing. As it says here, as part of both of those changes, drivers will no longer see a time and distance rate on their receipt. Instead, an upfront price is what you will get. This will include surge. The surge map is not changing, plus the base fare and time distance. Now, understand, surge pricing for both apps, right? With Lyft, it used to be called Prime Time. Both apps have dramatically decreased the way the surge works. We used to have a multiplier. Now, if you're a newer driver, you'll see a $1, $2.50, $3.75, whatever it is. And then you hope that if the ride goes long enough, and if you caught it on the uptick, it would surge. It would multiply. With Lyft, and I got a video I'll post it here explaining the surge differences. With Lyft, it's a bonus. That's it. If it's $10, it's $10. That's what you get. Now, they're saying no time or mileage on your receipt. So then how do you know if the surge is multiplying or if it has an opportunity to multiply? If they, it's like a reservation ride. In advance, a day or two, which I still don't get the damn reservations, but a day in advance, you're going to get a ride, could be an XL, could be a Premier, that says it's going from point A to point B, it's going to pay you $40. You know this up front, you're willing to accept it, you know the distance, right? You deem it a good deal, you take the ride, right? You take the reserve, you go, you pick them up, everybody's happy. We're not going to get that now. All right, I know I'm ranting this morning. I hope you guys are still listening, but this is real stuff. In the past, out of every 100 rides, the average was $20 a ride. Some rides were earning 50 to 100 and some earned far less. It made things like planning driver earnings occasionally difficult. What makes things difficult is, other than never getting rate increases, always decreases. Listen, there are two types of drivers. There are drivers that want the short trips, and there are drivers that want the long trips. It's just the way it is. All right. There are drivers that will only drive when there's surge or bonus, or boosts or what have you, some type of incentive. We get that. They're talking by taking away time and distance, a fixed rate of time and distance, they get to play with the fares. Those fares ain't going to benefit us because you got Uber on this side, you got Lyft on this side, and they're both going at each other. And if you don't know the backstory on that, Lyft originally, upper platform, private car service that you hit a button and you got an app, those guys made real money. Lyft came in with the economic version of rideshare, and when that happened, Uber, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it, super pumped. Uber came in and dropped all their rates to match Lyft. Now, if you really want to get into it, Lyft actually offers better money on upper platforms if you're marketed as Uber Black and Uber Black Lux. It's amazing how that works, that construct works. Roles reversed. Anyway, I know I'm going off today. I apologize. With rate rebalance, there will be less variation in the number of rides in terms of earnings. It makes it so that drivers won't try to take longer rides, plus shorter rides will be more profitable. Okay, so now we already know, like with Lyft, well, I shouldn't be talking about Lyft because this is Uber. But Lyft will follow. Mark my words, Lyft will follow. With this rate rebalancing, I live in South Florida. Our market, I can be in Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, or I can be up in Delray in Palm Beach and get a ride request going down to South Beach or Wynwood, which is downtown Miami, or Brickell, downtown Miami, or to the Keys. It's happened. I could be at the airport, Fort Lauderdale or Miami, and get a request to go to Naples or Fort Myers. This isn't going to work in markets where you don't have a lot of public transportation. They're going to be dependent on the rideshare apps, right? Because taxis are still too expensive and they're still too damn dangerous. What happens when you get that request that says 45 plus? And there are a lot of them. You're not going to take them because you know you're driving for less money. Why would you do that? Now, shorter rides, everybody's going to be gunning for those shorter rides as long as there's incentive to take them. I don't know. I think this is going to really affect ex-riders or drivers. But anyway, basically rate rebalancing means Uber will be raising fares on short trips, making a little less on long trips. Notice how they word that. Raising fares on short trips, making a little less on long trips. They make it sound like it's not a big deal. Rate rebalancing will also change what drivers see on their receipt. Why? Probably because they won't want drivers to figure out what Uber's take rate is. In addition, if Uber is adjusting rates based on distance, this can be a way for them to change rates without notice as well. Well, no shit. Oh, man. When asked about the skepticism regarding Uber's take rate, an Uber spokesperson had this to say. We don't know who the spokesperson is. By the way, these snips, I'll link it up. This is from the Rideshare Guys website. Just like in other markets, drivers in these markets can still see what the rider paid and keep track of what Uber's take rate is. It doesn't matter if the driver, listen, I say this all the time. If you're concerned with what Uber is charging the rider, you're thinking about the wrong thing. You need to be concerned with what you're making and what you agreed to drive for, which was time and distance. Time per minute per mile. That should only be your concern. They have to make money. I get all that. But with them taking away that ability to know what our per mile and per minute is, I don't know. I mean, hell, this video might get me in trouble, but you know what? Nothing I can do about that. I care about the drivers. I'm going to say this one more time. This is a side hustle. This is quick money. As you can see, they ain't going to let you make more money. They're going to say, well, there's more rides out there because instead of doing 21 million rides a day in the U.S., we're now doing 23 million rides a day in the U.S. Yeah, but that doesn't matter if you've got 5 million drivers today, and then when the ride bookings go up, you got 6 million drivers. You see how that works? It's still the imbalance. So be smart. Pay attention to your rides and where they're coming from. And, just be aware. Be aware. All right, with that, peace out.